Hey everyone, welcome back to Taking Back Monday. I am so excited that you decided to say goodbye to the Sunday scaries and hello to more meaningful work. We have a legend on the podcast today. We are excited to welcome Tim Hughes. He is an incredible thought leader and really one of the foremost experts on social selling, and particularly how social selling can transform your sales team, your approach, your go-to-market strategy, but also reduce burnout. So I'm so excited for you to hear from Tim. Let's get into it. So tell me, what is social selling? Like, is that just me like posting on LinkedIn or hitting people up on Facebook?
We have a definition of social selling, and I'm going to read it off the wall, which is using your presence and behavior on social media to build influence, make connections, grow relationships and trust, which lead to conversation and commercial interaction. So when someone sends you a connection request and immediately pitch to you, that's not social selling, that's spam. What we're doing is that we have a methodology that we use where we show people how to connect to people, how to ultimately have conversations, and why that leads to opportunity and revenue.
I'm so glad that you say that, because I think a lot of people think if I just drop in people's direct messages and I kind of pitch myself right away, like, how many connections do you get a day? Because I know I get hundreds of connections a day that are just people spamming me for services, and they don't even know who I am or care what I do.
I had someone today, and I always report them to LinkedIn because, I'm guessing that they get a response, but they don't get a response like that we get. So, for example, we've been running a benchmark now for the last 16 months. Which measures all of our customers and in terms of what the response they're getting. And the average SDR will get 2 meetings a day with their ICP. Now, I've seen people on LinkedIn saying getting 10 meetings a month with cold calling was fantastic. But getting 2 meetings a day, 10 meetings a week, there's a clear differential between getting 10 meetings a month and 10 meetings a week.
I had a call with someone a couple of months ago that basically said, in his opinion, cold calling is the only thing that actually works. And you got to smile and dial and all of those things. Because he and I were talking about thought leadership marketing and building your personal brand as a founder. And he goes, yeah, that's a waste of your time. You just need to start cold calling. And my immediate reaction was like, but I'm tired of cold calling. Like, I can do it and I've done it, but I don't want to. I'm tired of it.
Well, we're not anti-telephone and we're not anti-cold calling. I started my career in cold calling. But there's more efficient and effective ways. For example, I can get in the car and drive somewhere. I do that because it's the most effective way. I don't I don't live in a horse and have a cart and horse and try and get there. If you want to go on a cart and horse, you can still do that. You can still travel like that. But most of us want to get in the car and we want to go the most effective and efficient way, which is why. Now, what I'm saying is that we've built a methodology to do it. So I can't say for anybody else who does social selling, but we know through our benchmark, and people can come and basically look at this. They can look at the figures, and it will make a massive impact.
So explain social selling to me I'm 5. What is social selling and how is it different than just being an influencer?
So there's 3 things that you need to be social selling. The first thing you need is to have a buyer-centric profile. So this is a profile on LinkedIn, which is it's your shop window to the world. There's 1 billion people on LinkedIn and they're walking past your profile every day. What you want them to do is to stop and go, that looks interesting. Because pretty much 100% of the people on LinkedIn will be saying, I'm a brilliant salesperson, or this is me at a sales kickoff, or this is me at an award ceremony. And actually buyers don't care. And remember, the way that we sell, or way that we've always sold, is about personal connection. I'm sitting here because of a personal connection and a referral from Rob Durant, people by people. And, so what we're looking for on social media is that connection that we have, a human connection, which is why we call it a buyer-centric profile, and we don't call it a personal brand. A personal brand seems to be this thing which nobody can basically achieve. Your Brian Solis, your Mark Schaefer. I've got to go from 0 to 100. I can't do that, but I can go from 0 to 1 or 5. The other thing about social selling is that you need to have a wide and varied network. So you need to connect to the people that you're trying to sell to and you're trying to influence. Now, if you're not connected to the people, you are invisible. So, if anybody out there is having some sort of QPR, quarterly business review or account review, and people are saying that they're not connected or they're only connected to one person in the account, you need to send the people away. You need to be connected to a lot of people, all the stakeholders. The third thing that you need is content. This isn't brochures, which are basically just an analog flyer. Most people seem to think that LinkedIn is where I'm going to take an analog flyer and I'm going to post it in your inbox and you're going to say, wow, that's amazing. Can I buy two? And it doesn't work like that. So what you need content, which is, insightful, which is educational, which is authentic, just like this podcast is. It's about you and you having those conversations. And we're all as salespeople. We understand our clients. We understand the verticals that we work in. We can share that information. And the last thing that buyers want are more brochures. But stick them on your website. We can ignore them there. We don't want them on social media. Our connection is with people and our connection is understanding, and we want to learn stuff. We've got clients that are doing multi-million-dollar deals on social media. And this is around buyers active on there to go, you look interesting. I think you could help me. Can you come and talk to us? And then having a normal sales conversation. And then that turns into opportunity. There is outbound ways of doing it as well, and I can talk about those, but that's in terms of social selling. It's about using social as the framework that you're working with and then having a process that you work to.
There's about a million things that I think we could unpack in what you just said, but I want to touch in on authenticity and this feeling of like actually getting to know people. We mentioned that we're here because of a mutual connection. Rob Durant was on our podcast a couple of months ago, and he said something to me that still resounds today, and I'm sure that you've heard it before. But in order to be successful, you need to have a group of people who know you for what you want to be known for and are willing to tell other people about it. And I'm still struck by that, this idea of like, well, what do I want to be known for? And do people in my circle, in my network, in my expanded reach know what I want to be known for? So as a seller, if I'm trying to really get started on not building my personal brand, but building my buyer-centric profile, like what's the one thing you would do today if I was wanting to get started on that?
So the one thing that you need to do is, the most visible thing about you on the internet is your summary title. And most people on LinkedIn have a summary title, which is, it will be so full of buzzwords you won't read it.
Or it's the standard one where it's like, salesperson at company, and that's all it says about them.
Which, as soon as it says salesperson, we run away because we know all you do is try and sell me something.
If your title says SDR, I'm not accepting your connection request.
Exactly.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Or what will happen is that you'll see a lot of LinkedIn influencers and LinkedIn experts, and I'm doing quotes with my fingers, will say, what you need to do is put what you are. So I get a LinkedIn connection and it will say, I am an accountant for small businesses. Now, what do you think I will get if I accept that connection request?
You're going to get a pitch for some accounting for your small business.
I'm a small business and I already have an accountant. Or it will say, I help CEOs with their fitness. What am I going to get? This is such bad advice being about what you are. It's an act of self-harm. What you need to do is you need to put your why. Because it's the most visible thing about you on the internet. So if you Google your name, what you'll see is your LinkedIn profile. It will show your name. It will show your picture if you've got one, and it will show that title. Your job is to get someone to go, that's interesting. I'm going to look further. Because if you've got professional edition and above on LinkedIn, you know everybody that's come to your LinkedIn profile because it shows that. So immediately what you've done is you've taken an unknown person and turned it into a conversation, because everyone who comes to your LinkedIn profile, you can have a conversation with. So what you need to do is you need to put your why. It needs to be something interesting, something that goes, what is that? And if anyone comes to my LinkedIn profile, please do. And please check out my summary title, and you will find it's something that you've never seen before.
Okay. Because I was like, I'm pretty sure, because I remember you because you have a really interesting summary title, and that makes you memorable to me and makes me want to go like, hey, we're both into Harry Potter. I kind of like that. I'm kind of interested in that.
Yes. And it doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not. The fact of the matter is that Quidditch guy? Who's that? He does social selling. I don't know. Let's search. It's Quidditch.
Right.
And you'll find me.
Right. Right. And that makes you memorable and interesting and makes me go from I'm just scrolling, I'm just swiping to wait, let me go ahead and stop. It's a great stop moment, something an attention getter.
So many people that say, I'll get a connection question. I'll say, and I always, whenever anybody connects to me, they don't put a note. I'll say, "What? Thanks for dropping by. What, why did you connect?" A lot of people basically say, "I had to connect with you because you were somebody like that."
Yeah, I love that. And that's so smart because that is a non-threatening way to open a door to a conversation and also to get you in their feed so that when you are providing value, when you are sharing content, when you're shouting into the void, as it feels sometimes, there's at least a greater chance that they're going to see what you have to say and might connect with you and find value in it.
So if we go through the three themes, buyer-centric profile, wide and varied network, and interesting content, yes, you're then in a situation where you're connected to that person. And when they scroll through, they'll go, boring, 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 boring. What's that?
Right. What's this?
And that's immediately you're different rather than you're the same as everybody else. I'm an SDR and I sell some product that you've never heard of and you don't care about.
Yeah, no, I love that. One of the things that you had mentioned kind of in our pre-conversation was that social selling can reduce burnout. I don't know about you, but I see salespeople turnover all the time. It has to be one of like the top turnover professions that there is. And it's always some of the turnover and there you go to a new business and you're like, okay, well, I guess new team, new quota. And then it's the same old story over and over again. So tell us a little bit more about if I'm a leader and I want to keep my team that I've worked hard to build, how can I use social selling to keep them from burning out on me?
Well, we've been running this benchmark. And as I say, the SDRs are now getting 2 meetings a day. The spin-off from that and the feedback, we were just what we wanted to do is to have some figure that we could go out to market and say, hey, isn't our product great? But the feedback that we got from the SDRs was, I've actually fallen back in love with sales again. I was actually going to quit and I was going to go and do something else. But because with the cold calling, because I got rejection after rejection after rejection, it just got to a point where I just didn't want to do it anymore. And people felt burnt out, having to make more and more calls to try and get some sort of response. So the people said, I've fallen back in love with sales. I actually like going to work. I've started liking Monday mornings. This is the feedback that I started liking Monday mornings. Now, of course, 10. So we would expect people of the 100 people you contact on social, 10 people would have a call. Now, that's still a 90% rejection rate, but it's better than cold calling. But because you're getting 2 meetings a day is actually a lot. I mean, we've got one guy who's getting 25 a week. He's complained to us. I've got so many meetings. I don't have time to do and it's like, no. The fact that you're telling us this is amazing. But the SDRs, it was just a real aha moment when they started saying, this is really good. We like people want to talk to us. And we actually like sales again. It's really fantastic feedback.
Well, this is a testament to your program and your approach. Cause normally like I don't talk process or like what your business does on this podcast, but I'm actually legitimately, genuinely curious. Like, how are you guys teaching people to do this? Is it training? Is it a webinar? Is it a program? Like, if someone were going to hire you, what would that feel like?
So we built a methodology, which takes us, about 10 weeks to basically take people through the steps. So it takes people about how to have a buyer-centric profile, how to connect people. So the third session is about connecting to people. And usually people start getting meetings at that sort of level. We then show people how to go out and have conversations, start conversations, join conversations on social, and then how to create content. We generally use cohorts of 10 people, because if you're doing it remotely. That's kind of enough to have on the screen at any one time. But what the key for us is that we run one-to-one. So you have a joint session, which has exercises, which has what we call social training. So for example, the first exercise you do is about your summary title. You go away and think about it for 10 minutes and then come back. And then some people will say, I'm passionate about digital transformation, which is like really not really much different. Other people will come up with quotes.
Yeah.
And what you do is you learn, because you'll say something, I never thought about that. Yeah, maybe I could use that. And so we have social training. So it has all exercises. So it's not like PowerPoints and you start looking at what emails come through. And then basically you have the week up to is the one-to-one confidential. And that's the thing that we see really making the difference. So it's training and coaching. We have it's all certified by the Institute of Sales Professionals, which is a UK sales trade body. It's the only certified social selling program in the world. And people can go on and do that certification. Of course, if you've got that, well, like any learning, once you do it, no one's going to take it away.
So let's talk about your second point then, is that wide and varied network.
Yep.
Like, how important is it? Because I see a lot of people who are like, well, my ICP is this person, so I'm just going to go out and try to connect with as many people who fit for my company. We're looking at like CROs, VPs of customer success, people who kind of work in that renewals and retention kind of role. But what would you give advice for people to expand beyond their ICP for their network?
So, first and foremost, yes, you need to connect with your ICP. But the important thing is to understand with the connection that this isn't about you. Can I sell you something? This is about the other person.
Yes, 100%.
So it's the opposite of the connect and pitch. So I'm connecting with you, Tim. I'm really interested in what you're doing. Now, we actually have a mechanism where you can do, for example, there's a lot of people say that you need to go out and research something. You don't need to do that. Because you can send 100 connection requests in a night in a great way, get people to respond to those within an hour. So you don't need to go out and research because you just don't have the time to do that. So we show people how to connect. We show people how to then have those conversations. How do you have a conversation online? And then when you basically have those conversations, how can you take that to ultimately a meeting? Because what you want to do is have a meeting. So some people say, we can't do social selling because I could never sell our stuff on social. We're not saying that. What we're doing is that we're using social as a mechanism to get ultimately the Zoom or the Teams call. Mm-hmm. Then what you need to do is you need to run that in a particular way, because ultimately what people expect you to do is go on. What everybody does is go on and say, you downloaded a white paper. Are you going to buy?
Right.
And buyers aren't interested in that. Buyers want to be treated a different way. So to answer your question, yes, connect with your ICP, but you also need to be connected to people the other people in that organization. So there's other people that may actually influence. So the fact that we're here because of a referral, it could be the fact that what you do is you connect with Rob because Rob is a connector.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a lot of LinkedIn snobbery out there from a senior perspective. So if you connect to somebody really, really senior, they may not accept your connection request because they'll look at who you're connected to. They're not connected to anybody else in my organization. They're just going to try and sell me something. But if you send them a connection request and they go, oh, wow, they're connected to Steve and Catherine and Peter who work for me. They obviously trust that person. Then therefore, they will, and they're more likely to accept your connection request. And don't forget, if you're not connected to somebody, as I said earlier on, you are invisible.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here thinking through, like, there's so much psychology and strategy into what you're teaching people and how you're helping people really think through this. Because I think a lot of us, when we first kind of get into this notion of, I'm going to use my social network to sell and to build my profile and connect with people who might be my buyers. And I think a lot of people just think of it as like, it's something that just happens. It's kind of willy-nilly. You go and you click and you connect with people and then you post stuff and all of that. But it sounds to me like you guys are really focused on how do we make this a science rather than just a social.
Yes. So what we did from the day, the get-go was to basically build this, as you say, a science, a methodology. It is a process. We've just been training this headhunter in Singapore. And he's got 3 meetings a day. His PA's basically said, don't book any more meetings for the next month because you got so many.
That's awesome.
And it's just, so his title is, summary title is Searching for the Best Peking Duck and Rice in Asia.
Interesting. What a challenge. I mean, like, there's probably a lot of good out there.
So basically he's going out to people and saying, he went to Shanghai for some, meetings and basically connected to people. And now he's going for C-level people. So these are, CEOs, heads of human resources. So CPOs. And he's going there and saying, I'm in Shanghai. And I want to know where the best Peking duck and rice is. And he's sending that as a connection request, and people accept it because it's non-threatening. It's non-threatening.
Right. Yeah. And it's just interesting. You're like, what are you doing?
And then he has a conversation. They say, well, actually, I recommend great to connect. I actually recommend this place. And he said, okay, well, I'll go. And then he may turn around and say, well, why don't we go? Or whatever it is, depending on, but it's about having that conversation, or like going back and say, well, I heard this place was really good. Oh yeah, well, I wouldn't go there because, so you're having this non-threatening conversation. And all that does is it builds, you go through that process of knowing, liking and trusting something.
Yeah. I can tell you my immediate, like, what would I ask next if someone sent me that? My next question would be, well, what brings you to Shanghai? And that opens up an entire conversation. Would be like, oh, I'm meeting with such and such because I do so-and-so. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, well, it's not like selling me. You're just here. Cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So brilliant. So we have 2 questions that we ask everybody at the end of this podcast. Question number 1 is, who do you know that we should be talking to? Who is really taking back Monday? Who do you want to put in the hot seat?
I'll give you a list.
I know. I had that exact thought. I'm like, Rob had like 15 people. You were one of them. And so, yeah, who do you know? Who should we be reaching out to?
So, I would connect you to someone like Mark Schaefer because he's a fantastic thought leader. He wrote the foreword to my 3rd book, and he's a fantastic person that's willing to share and motivate. And I think he would be a fantastic thought leader that you should have on your show. I'll make that connection if you want me to.
I would love that. That's what we're looking for. Question number 2, if someone is really interested, they want to work with you, they want to connect with you, they want to be in your wide and varied network, where can they find you online?
The best place to get me is on LinkedIn. I'm Timothy or Tim Hughes. And you'll see the Quidditch summary title.
Yeah. And in hindsight, I remember when I connected with you, I think I opened with, I should have played Quidditch for the US. So I'm pretty sure that's how I opened our connection invite.
Something like that. Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tim. This was incredible. I'm so excited to take away all the learnings from this, and I can't wait to follow you into your future and see all the good that you do.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.